Well, today was a great day to get the mail. This is the ThinkPad T400. I've been using this quite a lot. I've actually been using it more than the Dell Latitude 3330, despite that laptop being more convenient and more powerful. I've just been using this just because I like it more. It's got a nicer keyboard on it, and I'm actually enjoying the larger screen. Well, I told you there were some upgrades I would like to do to this thing, and both of those actually came in the mail today. And here they are. Now this here is not, I don't think I said I was going to do this, but it was something I decided to do on a whim. This is the Lenovo UltraBay Slim battery. It's actually the name they actually market it by is the ThinkPad UltraBay Advanced Battery 3 or something like that. It's a battery that goes in the UltraBay, and this is sweet, and this will fit the UltraBay Slim and the serial UltraBay Slim. It's the one accessory that can actually be exchanged between those two different systems. So this will work on a lot of older ThinkPads as well as a lot of newer ones. So yeah, this was sort of an impulse purchase. I bought this on eBay for $67. It came from Canada, so it only took a few days to get here. It's brand new. It was brand new, sealed in the package, and it is genuine. And it even came with this humongous safety guideline pamphlet that's in 400 different languages. So yeah, brand new, genuine battery, $67, not a bad price considering that back when Lenovo was selling these, I'm not sure if they actually make them anymore. These were a $200 accessory, so quite expensive. Now the reason this was cheap is because it was manufactured in 2010. So no clue, even though it's brand new, no clue what shape it could be in because it's been shelved for 7 years since it was manufactured. I did put this in the laptop for a while. I'll show how you put it in right now. So there's the gaping hole, and it just slips in there and clips in, and a little green light there turns on. And if we look at the battery meter in Windows, it shows up as a second battery. Now how nice is that? Now the main battery is, now I forget which is which. If I eject the UltraBay battery, I'll show how you eject it. There's a little switch that you press to the side, and then that pops out, and you pull on that, and it comes out. So it's battery 1. The UltraBay battery is battery 1, and the main battery is battery 2. I slip it back in, push this little tab back in, just like that. And there's his battery 1. I've charged it to 55 so far, and it's not charging, and it's charging the main battery first, which is battery 2. So that's the UltraBay battery, and we will get back to that later, and we will do a test and see how long it actually lasts, see how well the battery survived 7 years of storage, and we'll see how much extra runtime it gets me. As for the other thing that came in the mail for this laptop, I have a new upgraded CPU, an Intel Core 2 Duo T9600. Now the CPU currently in this, that is what it came with from the factory, is the lowest end CPU that Lenovo offered with this machine. It's a Core 2 Duo P8400, that's a 2.26 GHz CPU with 3 megabytes of level 2 cache. This CPU bumps the clock speed up to 2.8 GHz, and it doubles the level 2 cache to 6 megabytes, so that's really cool. And this was the highest end processor that Lenovo offered with this thing. Now, there were faster ones that actually are tested and do work in this computer. The T9800 and the top dog, the T9900, they work with this laptop. However, they're very expensive to purchase relatively. The T9900 will cost you about $50. The T9800 will cost you about $20. Well, a T9600 will cost you about $10 because it's a far more common CPU. And, you know, whatever performance increase that you'll get with a T9800 or even a T9900 over the T9600, I doubt it's going to be significant, if detectable at all. Plus, you're going to be using more power and it's going to be running hotter. So might as well just be humble, stick with the T9600, especially since Lenovo did support this CPU running in this laptop, whereas they didn't for the 98 or the 9900. So I've got this thing, and the first thing we're going to do in this video is we're going to install this CPU. So let me get this thing shut down. I'll get the UltraBay battery out of it again. And we'll come back and we will disassemble this thing and stick in this CPU. Alright, I guess this is a good enough angle, and away we go. So I'm following instructions on Lenovo's website. I just googled ThinkPad T400 replace CPU, and I came to a web page titled CPU Removal and Installation ThinkPad R400 T400. So this is on Lenovo's website. My boyfriend asked me if I was gonna do a video showing the actual replacement of the CPU, and I normally don't film that just because it's time consuming, usually, for me at least, to take apart a laptop. But I figured since he asked, why the heck not? There's a first time for everything. So the first step is to remove the battery, and that's, you know, that doesn't require an explanation. So there's our battery. And then the next step is to remove the palm rest, which is this part right here, encompassing the trackpad and the fingerprint reader. So to do that, get my screwdriver. This is a pretty big screwdriver. I may need to get a smaller one, but we'll see how this one works. So there's 4 screws. So the screws are here, 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 and here. And I'm sure there are lots of videos on YouTube showing how to do this. And are they going to fall out? Yes, they are. Oh, they're quite long. And then I gotta open the thing up. It says to tilt the palm rest like so. Okay. And I gotta be careful because I gotta remove connectors for the trackpad and maybe the fingerprint reader. No, it's all one big connector. That's nice. So I'll pull that out. And away comes our palm rest. So if you had one of these that, for example, didn't come with the fingerprint reader, and you wanted to replace it with one that had the fingerprint reader, you just buy this part and it's very easy to replace. Just plug and play, basically. So here we are. There's where the RAM is. That's nice to see. So now I know where the RAM is, and now I also know where the CMOS battery is. The CMOS battery is a CR2032, and I hope to God this isn't one of those machines that when the CMOS battery dies someday, it's going to create a random garbage CMOS password and boot password that I'm never going to be able to crack, thus spelling the end of this thing. I hope that doesn't happen. In high school we had a bunch of T20s that were sometimes pulled out for use whenever students in a class needed laptops. And those had a thing where if you yanked out the CMOS battery, or the CMOS battery died, they'd create a garbage password that couldn't be solved. And these ThinkPads are so secure at the hardware level that it's impossible to fix. The computer is literally physically junk once that happens. There I can see the hard drive poking out. So the next step is the keyboard. It looks like one screw on the bottom. So gotta be careful here because there's no latch anymore, so careful you don't want to smash the screen or whatever. It should be, oh, it's actually, it's covered with a warranty sticker. That's interesting. Gotta fight through the sticker. And that is that screw out. Put that right there. And then we flip it back over. And the keyboard. There's a connector you have to get. Yes, that is correct. Ooh, that's a scary, flimsy looking connector. But our keyboard is out. So if you ever had to replace a keyboard, that's quite easy, evidently. And we're down to the chassis of this thing, that magnesium chassis, very cool to see. Nice. We can see the heatsink and fan from here, but I'd say we're probably only halfway done. So we go to the next step, which is the keyboard bezel. So now we're getting down to the casing of the laptop. So the keyboard bezel is this part here. There's a screw here and here. Well, this one's missing. That's nice. So I'm not sure how that happened. If the warranty sticker on the keyboard hole is intact. Maybe that's not a Lenovo sticker. Maybe that was a sticker the Palm Shop put on it. But there's supposed to be a screw right here, and it's missing, so that's comforting. Release the wireless antenna cables from the cable guide. Ah, there's the wireless antennas. So I guess it says release them from the cable guide. I guess that just means free them like that. Just get them up out of the way. Detach the claws. Then remove the keyboard bezel in the direction shown by arrow. Okay, so there's 4 claws, it calls them, which I guess are these plastic things. Ah, okay. Oh, I'm just sort of prying up on it and it's coming loose. Well, there's the date of manufacture. Oh, guess what, everybody? This thing wasn't made in 2008. It was made in 2009. And actually right there it says 2009 May 18th. Okay, so this is it was introduced in 2008, but this particular unit was built in 2009. Well, that's cool to know. Ooh, that didn't feel good, but it came loose. It says in the instructions to grab a hold of the ends and then pull it this way. And if I do that, that's not happening. I don't want to break anything because this laptop is sort of immaculate. Okay, so it turns out that friggin' scumbag Lenovo doesn't tell you that there are 4 more screws you have to take out to get the keyboard bezel out. Or they list that there's 4 screws, but they don't give you a diagram. So I figured that was just a mistake or something, because the only diagram they give is taking out the screws on the inside, which we did, and then the next diagram is just pulling out the thing. There was no diagram for removing 4 screws on the bottom. So I'm not even sure they're the right screws. I just took them out and the keyboard bezel lifted right off. Shitty ass Lenovo. It's just like them to do something like that. But it's out. So here's what it looks like now. Next step is removing the speaker assembly. So there's one speaker and there's another speaker. There's 4 screws to remove. And probably 10 more that they don't tell you about. At least this probably won't be as bad as when I upgraded the Toshiba Satellite U200. That thing, you literally had to disassemble the entire computer. You had to take the motherboard right out of it, which is just insane. I wish things were as nice as the Dell Inspiron 1525. That thing, the CPU is accessible on the bottom. You take off one door on the bottom, and you're right there at the entire heatsink assembly. We clearly don't have to remove this one because the CPU's over here. These are just generic instructions like, hey, here's how you remove the speakers. This one can obviously stay. And this one comes out very easily. Little piece of tape there. Okay. Nope, there goes my screws. I'm not very good at screw management. Alright, speakers out. My boyfriend's probably not proud of me. He'd be much better at this than I am. And that leaves us with the heatsink assembly. It's showing something in this diagram that doesn't look like anything I'm looking at. Okay, I'm just gonna friggin' guess, cause scumbag Lenovo is not showing me the right. Oh, here it is. 2 screws right here. I was looking at the wrong part. Screw here, a screw here, and then the third screw is, dude, I don't know. After that bezel fiasco, I've pretty much given up at this point. This assembly comes out, hopefully. Wow. Okay. So that's one little piece. And I'm guessing this entire metal shield has to come off. So I'm guessing, like I said, it's showing a completely different diagram than I'm dealing with. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm just going to wing it at this point. I'll take this one out. Try not to lose the screws. Take this one out. And will this come off? Yes, it will. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Set that down. So here is our heatsink. And looks like it might be straightforward from here. Let me see. Ooh, we're starting to come loose. I gotta move some wires out of the way. Now we're getting somewhere. Is that it? Is it gonna come out? Maybe? Yes. Alright. Oh, don't tear the wires out of the fan. Get the fan connector out. Okay. Ta-da! And our heatsink is out. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to try and do this without upsetting the screws, but I'm going to clean. That CPU I bought on eBay came with heatsink compound. Just cheap Chinese garbage, but it's better than nothing. So I'm going to clean the old compound off the heatsink, and we'll remove the old CPU and stick in the new CPU. And put her all back together. So what I'll do first is carefully set this aside, and I'll remove the old CPU. We need a small flathead screwdriver. Okay. Unlock. This is a regular old socket 479 or whatever they call it. I've touched these many times. Okay, there's the old CPU out. Is there a date on this? No, but it does have an IBM FRU number on it, or I should say a Lenovo FRU number on it, FRU, so it is the original Lenovo part. New CPU. Pull it out. Ooh, it's got a larger die than the old one, I think. Yes, it does. It's got a larger die on it for better heat dissipation. Because the new CPU has TDP of 35 watts, whereas the old one's 25 watts. The P series Core 2 Duos were slightly lower power, 25 watts, whereas the T ones were 35 watts. So it's going to be a little bit of a drain on battery life, but I think it's worth it for the extra performance, especially considering this is an older PC. This thing doesn't have a surplus of power. This is a 9-year-old computer, so I'll gladly sacrifice some efficiency to get more performance and extend the useful life of this laptop. So I'm going to stick this in here, lining it up appropriately. See some spare connectors for there. I think that might be possibly for the either the Bluetooth or the cellular modem, which reminds me, I remember we weren't sure if this had the cellular modem. So that's the Wi-Fi card, and then there's another mini PCI Express slot right here, and I guess that's the only one. So I guess it looks like this probably doesn't have the cellular modem, which is just fine. So I'm going to stick that in there and lock her up like so. And I'm going to clean the heatsink compound off this just with oh shit, don't drop my screws everywhere. I'll wipe the old compound off there. This place right here is just for the chipset. I don't care about the chipset. But I'll wipe the heatsink compound on this, apply the new compound on the CPU itself, and then put this back on. Alright, old thermal compound. wiped off the heatsink. It was quite old and crumbly. New stuff is on the CPU. They gave you way more than I thought they would, so there's quite a lot on there, but that won't hurt anything. So now we just gotta try and shoehorn this thing back in there and reverse this whole process. Now I gotta get this thing the right way around. That would be a good thing. This would be a good opportunity to clean out the heatsink fan vent, but it looks perfectly clean, so that's good. And stick that in there. Make sure we don't pinch any wires. There we go. Perfect. I don't see any heatsink compound spewing out from under the heatsink, so that's good. So we'll put our screws back. That went down here. Okay. This connector can go back. Excellent. Alright. And then the speaker. Okay. That is in. So the next thing to put back in is the, once I get these wires situated a little better, the keyboard bezel, the part that Lenovo decided just to omit a whole bunch of screws you had to take out. So that's going to slip in like that and push the claws, as they call it, into place. So next is the keyboard. Keyboard, stick in the, well, I guess put the back end of it in first. Like so. Stick in the little connector. Okay. Keyboard goes in. And then we have one screw to put in. Okay, that's in there. Keyboard looks good. And then the keyboard bezel. Snap. Snappity snap. Okay. Screen closes okay. Fire trucks are coming, probably because of how bad of a job I'm doing. Are we good? Is this thing back together? Is everything good? Okay, I think we're done. You may now applaud, or boo, depending on how good of a job I did. You should probably boo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the main battery in, and we're going to hope to God this thing doesn't, we're going to hope it works. If it doesn't work, I'll probably just retire from computers permanently and become a truck driver. See what this does. Now let's see what this does. Almost out of tape on the second tape. Okay, it's doing the post. Is it going to light up? Yes, alright. Press the blue ThinkVantage button. Go into the BIOS. Wait for the timer to expire. Hope I don't run out of tape. Yes, T9600, 2.8 gigahertz. Okay. Exit. Alright, I'm going to let this thing boot up and change to a third tape, and then we'll come back. So interestingly, Windows still reports the old CPU, but I just assume it hasn't come to its senses yet. Okay, I managed to fix the issue with it reporting the wrong CPU. What I did was I went into Device Manager and actually uninstalled the CPU's driver, and so it restarted and loaded the correct driver. Funny thing, when it's like an hour later, when it went to restart, it went to the Getting Windows Ready screen, and it sat there for about an hour doing I don't know what. It wasn't updating to the fall creators update. I checked that, so I don't know what it was doing, but it took an hour to redo whatever it was doing, but it's all working again now. Now, unfortunately, during that hour that it was restarting, the power cord fell out and I didn't know, so it drained the UltraBay battery, which I really hate because that's that battery's first ever charge cycle, and now it's been interrupted. It was up to like 50% or something, and it discharged to like basically nothing, and now it's going to start over again. So now it's had a wonky first ever charge cycle, which really sucks, but hopefully it hasn't damaged it any. So now I gotta wait for the UltraBay battery to charge up again, but I figure while we're doing that, I will run Passmark performance test, and we'll see what kind of a performance boost that new CPU gives to this thing. Now, while I'm talking about the battery and accidentally discharging it, this is a good time to talk about an inherent design flaw that these ThinkPads have, that all ThinkPads that can take UltraBay batteries have, when it comes to actually managing the UltraBay battery. ThinkPads that can take UltraBay batteries are designed such that when you have both batteries installed, the main battery and the UltraBay battery, when you unplug the computer from mains power and it starts running on battery power, it runs on the UltraBay battery first, and it discharges it all the way to 0, and then it switches to the main battery. And likewise, when you plug the computer in again, it charges the main battery first, and then it charges the UltraBay battery. And this is horrible because the UltraBay battery is a 3-cell battery, right? So it's pretty low capacity. So by running on the UltraBay battery first, in a lot of cases, it's going to discharge completely during the time that you're using it. Whereas the main battery may, you may be able to discharge it like halfway or 3/4 of a way in whatever you're using the computer for. The UltraBay battery, it's going to discharge all the way just because it's a small, low capacity battery. And this is horrible because, as it turns out, because of this way the UltraBay battery is managed, they do not last long at all. As a matter of fact, when you read about what people do with their ThinkPads, you find that not a lot of people buy UltraBay batteries. They don't bother, and the reason is because they're basically a waste of money. And the reason is because I've read stories where for people who use their ThinkPads heavily on battery power with an UltraBay battery, the UltraBay battery's dead, like totally non-functional in 6 months. Just the constant full discharge and then sitting at 0% while it waits for the main battery to charge again. And then, the constant full discharge charge cycles kills it really quickly. And yeah, I read a person's testimony that said their UltraBay battery lasted 6 months before it was no good anymore. It was ready to throw away. And that's really bad. Especially considering that back when Lenovo made the UltraBay battery, like I said, I don't think they do anymore, it was a $200 item, super expensive, and so it just wasn't worth it. For that money, you might as well just buy more main batteries and keep something like an UltraBay or keep something like an optical drive or a second hard drive in the UltraBay. And so it's really just too bad because it's a wonderful idea, and at face value it's a great accessory to be able to use that space to extend your battery power. It's certainly gonna be useful to me. But unfortunately, the design of these things happens to be such that the UltraBay battery does not last long, at least in heavy use. And there's no way you can modify it. You can't do any hack or anything to change it so that it drains the main battery first and then switches to the UltraBay battery. And that's because of the inherent design of the UltraBay. With the UltraBay, of course, it's hot swappable, so if you're running it on an UltraBay battery and the battery dies, let's say you have a second UltraBay battery on you, when the first UltraBay battery dies, you can just haul it out, slip in another one, and during that time that the bay's empty, it's running on the main battery. Well, if it worked the other way around, where it drained the main battery first and then the UltraBay battery, you would be SOL once the UltraBay battery died because you have no main battery to fall back on. The only way you could switch batteries would be to shut down or let it hibernate, then switch batteries and then turn it back on. So it's designed this way for convenience, unfortunately at the expense of the service life of the battery, which is too bad. But I'll be interested to see how well it lasts for me. Like I said, it's a brand new, genuine battery, new old stock, but brand new nonetheless, and hopefully that incomplete first charge cycle didn't hurt it any. So we'll charge it all the way up, and I'm really interested to see how long it lasts. I am going to, because that new CPU I put in there has a higher power usage, I'm gonna first test the main battery again, see how long the main battery lasts, and then I'll put in the UltraBay battery and see how long that lasts. But for now, I'm just gonna let this thing complete the Passmark performance test, and when it finishes we will come back, take a look at it, and compare how it was to last time. The results are in and they're pretty good. The main score went up to 401. That's up from 380, so that's really great. CPU mark went up, of course, the most out of anything, 2036. That's up from 1600. And guess what? It now scores higher than the Dell Latitude 3330, which scores 1900 and some. So yeah, this thing now has, I guess, a more powerful CPU than the Latitude, despite this being a Core 2 Duo and the Latitude being a Core i3. That's pretty impressive. The 2D graphics jumped up a lot, and it too now surpasses the Latitude. 309.9, that's up from 249, so quite a jump. And the Latitude is at 250, so yeah, it surpasses the Latitude. 3D graphics stayed exactly the same, 46.2, and of course the Latitude beats that by quite a lot. Memory jumped up quite a bit, from 757 to 879. Latitude's quite a bit faster. And the disk mark jumped up insignificantly, from 602.1 to 602.5, and of course the Latitude is nearly 3000 because it has an SSD. But yeah, CPU 2D graphics made a significant jump, and I haven't tried this thing on the internet yet, but this might be a good time to see if it does any better. I'm going to take a screenshot of this first. Any better at playing 1080p video, because while this thing will play 720p video, it can't really do 1080p, and it also struggles a little bit with 60 frame per second 720p. So I'm going to get out of this and open up Google Chrome, and we'll bring up a 1080p video on YouTube and see if it can do it. Well, I'll be darned. By the looks of that, I think it's doing 1080p just fine. Something with there's a bit more motion. Yeah, that is playing flawlessly. Ooh, I like this. Let's get to something, there we go. Flawless. That is awesome. Now this is 30 frame per second. What about 60 frame per second? And it's set to 1080p 60. Oh my gosh, it looks like that looks like it's playing just fine too. Holy shoot. Yeah, this would not be able to do this on the old CPU. Oh, it's flawless. Holy crap. That is amazing. What a worthwhile spend of $10. And a couple of hours of my time getting it installed. Wow, that is just really, really great. I'm very happy with that. So the next thing to do, still waiting for the batteries to charge up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for both the batteries to charge up. And I'm going to do a runtime test on the main battery using the laptop like I usually would to see how long it lasts. And then we'll do a runtime test on the UltraBay battery and we'll see how it lasts. Okay, so it's the next day. I decided to wait overnight because it would take more time than was left in the day to run the battery life test. So I've done that. I've done a runtime test of the new UltraBay battery as well as the main battery to see how it changed with the new CPU. First of all, I've got to say, putting in that new CPU, one of the best things I've ever done, best spend of $10 I've ever done. This thing is so much faster with that new CPU. It really is surprising. I was expecting, maybe a minuscule upgrade. Nothing like what I got. This thing feels like a whole new computer with that new CPU. It's super fast, and one of the big problems with the old CPU is that when the computer was running on battery power, because the CPU would throttle down, it would become so slow that it would be really laggy just scrolling down web pages and stuff, a real lack of power when the CPU was throttled down. But now with the new CPU, even on battery power, this thing is very fluid on the internet. It's just so great. What a worthwhile upgrade. I would say that's extended the useful life of this thing by years possibly. It really is a nice upgrade. And interestingly, it didn't seem to affect battery life, very little if at all. I did a runtime test of the main battery first, and it lasted about an hour and a half. That's really nice. Before it would have been, well, it depended on how I was using the laptop. If I was really conservative, I would get maybe 2 hours out of it, but sometimes I'd get maybe about an hour and a half. So not much has really changed, and that test was done with a lot of web browsing, so a lot of CPU being used. The screen brightness, turned up fairly bright because it was in broad daytime. Yeah, not a whole. If there was any loss in the battery life with the new CPU, it was quite minuscule. So I'm very happy with that. But now the big question: how long does the UltraBay last? Well, I did the test and it lasted an hour and 45 minutes, and that was with a few hours during which the computer was in standby mode. So there would have been a fair bit of energy lost in those few hours in standby mode, possibly 10 or 20%. So yeah, so at least an hour and 45 minutes, maybe 2 hours without prolonged periods of standby. That's just excellent. Yeah, way better than I thought it would actually, because it's a small battery. It's a small 3-cell battery. Now granted, it's probably flat pack cells that make really efficient use of the volume of that UltraBay casing, but I still expected, because I assume there's quite a bit less capacity than the main battery would be, especially since this thing has the 6-cell battery instead of the regular 4-cell. So I expected maybe an hour, especially considering that's a 7-year-old battery, but no, an hour and 45 minutes. That's just fantastic. I'm super happy. It was still expensive at $67. Recently or not recently, but back when I got the Dell Latitude 3330 and I retired the Toshiba Satellite U200, around that same time I had actually bought a new battery for the Toshiba on eBay. It was a $20 China battery, and that gives it like 3 hours of runtime now. And so that was only $20. So, and I spent $67 to get a battery that only lasts an hour and 45. But these are generally a lot more expensive to buy for. There's ones on eBay upwards of $150, $200, and they're probably not new old stock like this one is. They were probably made more recently. So it was a bit of money spent, but it makes this thing a lot more useful because now I can bring this to school more often instead of having to bring the Dell for its longer battery life. This thing should be able to become my main laptop now, which it pretty much already is. It's how I've been using it anyway. I've been using it more than the Dell. But yeah, even though it was a lot of money, I think it was worth it. And what I'm going to do is try and be miserly with the use of that battery to prolong its service life as much as possible. So what I'll be doing is I'll be using this such that it runs on the main battery. I'll take the UltraBay battery out, so it runs on the main battery, and then when the main battery gets low, I'll put in the UltraBay battery. So that way, the UltraBay battery, there's less chance of it having to drain all the way down to 0%. And once I get an optical drive for this thing, I'll just keep the optical drive in it normally, and if I take the laptop out somewhere, I'll bring the UltraBay battery with me, and if I have to swap it in, I'll swap it in exchange for the optical drive. So I'll do my best to keep the service life of this battery as long as possible. Other than that, I'm very satisfied with the performance of the battery, and I'm extremely satisfied with the performance increase I got with that new CPU. Totally worth it. Worth the bother to take this thing apart. It just made this thing so much of a better computer now, so I'm really happy about that. So that's about all there is for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing these upgrades. I hope watching me take this thing apart and put it back together wasn't too boring. I had to edit it quite a lot to fit it down to the length that I did. But yeah, there you go. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.